We're gonna get up and move here. So I am kind of pulling back a little bit on the throttle because this person, right, safety first, but hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's gonna be reviewing the all-new GMC Canyon AT4. First off, I do want to mention that this is a pre-production truck, and so this does not like fully represent the full production truck. Obviously, this is pretty much what the Canyon is gonna look like, but just understand, pre-production vehicle. Anyways, before we get into the video, as always, if you want to save time and money the next time you purchase a car, link to my car buying guide in the description down below. Let's get right into it. So under the hood of the AT4, we have a turbocharged 2.7 liter 4-cylinder that goes through an 8-speed automatic transmission. Power outputs are 310 horsepower and then 430 pound-feet of torque. Now, I don't believe that official fuel economy ratings have been released, but the driver of this truck tells me they were able to average about 23 miles per gallon without the use of cruise control, which is really solid. Now, before we go over the front end, I do want to mention, if you want to see more videos just like this, then I recommend you subscribe because I post content every single day. So starting with the hood, you guys can see it's kind of like raised there on either side, and then you do have some divots, which overall I think it looks fantastic. Really cool daytime running light here on the front end, and then look at the headlight down below. I love the cluster. And then you guys can see GMC logo here at the front with the camera below it. We got the AT4 badge, and then fog lights down below that. And then look how we've got the red tow hooks here. And then the front end is like sculpted for approach angle, which looks great. And well, I guess speaking of approach angle, this has about 9.6 inches of ground clearance, and putting it all together, I think that GMC absolutely nailed the Canyon. I mean, seeing this in person, it looks fantastic. Now, come around the side here, our tire and wheel setup is 275/65/18 in the front and over in the rear as well. And then you guys can see here with the wheel design, notice we got the silver there on the top, and we got like a metallic gray down below that. And I mean, those are some real off-road tires. That's great. And then here's a quick look at the suspension here in the front, independent front suspension. And then you guys can see here with the fender flare, I love the look of that. Kind of reminds me of the half-ton. Now this does have a slightly wider track with the AT4 package. We've got the AT4 badge here. Notice the mirror cap blacked out, but then the door handles are body painted. And then in the rear, we have a solid rear axle, and then it looks like the truck still utilizes leaf springs. So here's our key fob. We have our unlock function, our lock function, remote start, and yes, we have the Chevy logo on the back because again, it's a that's the key to the truck. It's a pre-production truck. The more you learn. Now, pulling the handle for the tailgate, you guys will notice that it's dampened. Payload capacity is a whopping 1,396 pounds. And then notice how everything is already protected, so you don't have to worry about scratching paint or anything like that. Notice the GMC logo there. And then we actually have an outlet here in the back. But yeah, really solid storage space for a mid-sized truck in the bed. So here is the new tailgate with the Canyon. You guys can see that we've got this extra storage space here. It is watertight. All you have to do is just pull these two latches. Well, obviously this would be down. You guys get the point though, but again, GM always coming up with new tailgate features. And then the last part of it that's sweet is you guys can see we've got a drain plug just down below. And then lifting this up, pretty easy. Now you can see we've got the taillights here, which I'm actually a huge fan of with the C-shape AT4. We've got the Canyon badge here on the back, and then you guys can see here with the parking sensors on the rear as well. Now, towing capacity is about 5,500 pounds apparently with this truck, and then also we've got little cutouts for the bumper steps. And then here's the rest of the rear on the Canyon AT4. I love the shapes of it, and I realized I didn't do a full side view earlier, so here's your side view as well with the truck. Again, that wider track and everything really helps with the overall aesthetic. Oh, and by the way, I just did the arm test on the bed. It looks like the bed's at least like 5 feet. It's probably about 5.5 feet in length, roughly. I might be off though. Don't quote me on those figures. But before we move on to the next feature of this vehicle, we need to talk about today's sponsor, Morgan & Morgan. Now, nobody wants to get into a car accident, an accident at their workplace, or, you know, slip and fall in front of a business, but sometimes it just happens to be a part of life. And I can speak about this from a place of personal experience because when I was 17 years old, I got in a really bad car accident where my car got totaled out. And because I didn't know anything about insurance companies or getting help by a law firm, I basically got completely screwed in the situation where I got no money for my totaled car and I was left without a vehicle. And this is where Morgan & Morgan can help out. They are America's largest injury law firm with over 100 offices, over 800 lawyers, and over 4,000 case staff that are all ready to help you out. Now, I know at this point you might be thinking, Ben, that sounds really expensive, but here is the deal. All of the court hearings, the research, the negotiation, and more are free unless you win. And so if you're involved in some sort of personal accident, whether it be a slip and fall accident, an accident at your workplace, or maybe a car accident similar to what I was involved in, then you might want to get help from Morgan & Morgan. And don't feel bad that you're going down the route of suing. I know a lot of people might feel guilty about this, but what you have to understand is you're not suing the person or the business. You're suing their insurance company that has billions upon billions of dollars. And so it's more about making sure that you get the compensation that you deserve. So again, if you're injured in an accident, then you can check out Morgan & Morgan at www.forthepeople.com/Ben Hardy, or you can give them a call at pound 529, which is pound law. I think that's so cool that they got that number reserved. But again, www.forthepeople.com/Ben Hardy. Let's get back into the review. Now, popping inside, you guys can see really cool stitching design, and I love the two-tone theme as well, and decent storage. And then taking a look at the back seat, you guys can see here with the piping and the stitching, you notice it's perforated all down the center portion as well. Now, as you can see, we also do have some under-seat storage as well. Now, popping into the back, legroom here for a mid-sized truck is actually really solid. We got a little storage pocket here, got some cup holders, we have some vents for the rear passengers, USB and USB-C. And then headroom back here is actually great. Now, I'm just going to say this, I think the Canyon gets a 10 out of 10 because it's got a cup holder armrest, and then the rear window is manual with the operation. And then taking a look at the front door panel, first off, I love this trim that goes across. That looks fantastic. And then look at all of the stitching here. And then again, two-tone design. All of our window controls, driver window is automatic. Mirror adjustments, we also have memory seats. And then here's a quick look at the mirrors. Looks like we got blind spot monitoring too. And then here's the front seat, really cool. I like how they have AT4 there off to the side, perforated down the center portion. And then we've got our power adjustments here on the side. And we've got normal stuff like a hood latch release. Trailer brake controls are actually integrated over here, which is pretty interesting. And then notice we don't have any light controls right there, but really cool shape with the vent. Now, taking a look at the steering wheel itself, really nice material use all around. You guys can see contrasted stitching to match the AT4 colors. There are radio controls on the back. Now you can see we do have the icons for cruise control, but again, pre-production trucks, so the cruise control doesn't actually work. But notice we've got our heated steering wheel function, voice command controls, and then we have our turn signal windshield wiper stock. Now here's a look at the center gauge cluster here. You guys can see fully digital, and I can actually scroll through some different like menus here, which I think is pretty cool. I mean, there's so much information you can see, and I like how it like completely changes the look. Like that's one of the benefits of a digital gauge cluster. And then you guys can see there with the fuel economy, again, pre-production truck, so we'll see what, you know, the real production version ends up having. But also it lets you know like your drive line right there, so right now we're in auto, so I'm a big fan. Now in reverse, we do have a backup camera with trajectory lines that turn with the steering wheel, and it has a full 360 camera system. We have all of the angles, just like the Sierra half-ton. I mean, for a mid-sized truck, this is incredible. Now, as for the rest of the infotainment system, we have a shortcut bar here on the side, which super solid with the response time. And yes, a lot of controls are built in the infotainment system. So for example, the lights, it's all built into the system. I will say, because the screen's so responsive, it doesn't really bother me, hill descent control. But I guess I will say on that subject, it does take a second to get used to. Now this does have off-road pages, which is pretty cool. Notice it shows us all of our info, and it shows us where we are and our elevation as well. I think that's fun. And then notice, look, it has all the information that you need for the different styles of off-roading. I don't know. I think that's pretty cool. Let me know what you guys think about that feature. And then we also have a cool animation when we change the drive mode. So, well, I shouldn't say animation, but we've got little depictions for all the different drive modes. So notice we got a tow haul mode, pretty self-explanatory. Terrain mode is kind of like your slower off-roading. You got normal. You've got your off-road mode, which would be kind of like higher speed off-roading. And notice the little depiction there kind of gives you an idea of it. But it's cool that you have so many different modes. Dual zone climate controls down below. We have heated and ventilated seats for this truck as well. And then look at the material use on the dash. And then AT4 there on the end. And then we also have a little Bose sound system thing right there for the, or logo rather. But yeah, this is This is nice look. And then of course we got the roll down all the windows at once function, auto stop start, hazard lights, lane departure, and then for your aux, it looks like if you had anything. Anyways, more USB action, wireless phone charging pad. And then here's our shifter for the 8-speed automatic. Notice we got the L right there, but we do have a true like 2-speed transfer case. So we do have a 4-wheel low as well as a 4-wheel high, and then auto, which we're in right now. Parking brake right there. Oh, and there's more military print instead of those cup holders. And then it looks like we got a pretty normal center console. I do like the stitching here. That's also nice. And I guess while we're looking at storage, yeah, pretty normal glove box. Now up top we got our controls here. Here's a closer look at those for the sunroof. So it does have a sunroof as well. Now, when it comes to pricing, this one stickers for about $51,000-ish roughly, which puts it around the same price point as like a Tacoma TRD Pro. But this has a 2-inch lift and it's got 33s, so I think it might be cooler than a Pro. Let's see how it drives. So let's talk about visibility before we set off. Here's visibility of the hood, and hopefully you can now see the heads-up display right there, another cool feature. Both of the mirrors show blind spot monitoring, and throughout the rest of the rear. And let's set off. So we're setting off here in the Canyon AT4, and if you hear anything bumping around the back, it's because my tripod, I set it in the wrong place. But anyways, first off, seat cover is actually really good in the AT4. So, you know, I think it's too soon for me to tell if these seats are more comfortable than, you know, like let's say like the GMC Sierra, for example. But I will say I really do like the seats, the bolstering and everything. Like, even if you're like a larger person, these are seats that you'd still be able to fit in pretty well. And the biggest thing though is the torque. You've got a lot of low end torque, so I'm barely having to get into the throttle whatsoever. And yeah, I mean, it moves. This feels more like a half-ton pickup truck when it comes to the acceleration and power, at least on the low end, right? Than it does like a mid-size truck. Like mid-size trucks, you always kind of have to like, you know, dive into the throttle pretty deep, even if you're just getting up and going around town. But this, you can feel that there's quite a bit more. And then the other thing that's really impressive is actually the ride quality. That's another thing that this kind of, it feels more like a half-ton truck in terms of the ride quality. Now, I don't think there's going to be any special mode for this. We'll just keep it in normal mode. I guess we shouldn't use terrain mode while we're on the high. I'm just joking. But yeah, so far I'm pretty impressed with the dynamics. So we're going to get up and move here. So I am kind of pulling back a little bit on the throttle because this person, right, safety first. But you know, once I move out of the way, I'll get us another little acceleration here. But right off the bat, I mean, this thing has tons of power. Again, for a mid-sized truck, it's impressive that, again, even at partial throttle, it's like you can just get right up to highway speed. So let's pretend you have to pass someone, I suppose. Oh yeah, that's impressive. Tons of torque too. Like you can feel it. Yeah, I'm really impressed with what they've done with this. And the other thing, again, is the ride quality. It's really good for a mid-sized truck. Now you don't, I will say this isn't as like comfortable as like a Sierra with the ride quality, because again, that benefits from having a much longer wheelbase. But you know, I think that, I don't think there's really another mid-sized truck that's gonna ride as good as this does. Yeah, I'm really, like, the biggest thing though is this engine is so good for a mid-sized truck. It's fun. I can just imagine with this in the desert here in Utah, just being able to just power through things. And you can also imagine with like low speed stuff, if you're going up something with all the torque that this has, you're gonna have really good control. Yeah, one other little pothole there doesn't exist with this truck. That's cool. It's cool to hear the little bit of turbo noises too. Yeah, this is gonna, I think this is gonna change things for the mid-sized truck segment, because everyone's gonna have to put more powerful engines in to keep up with this, honestly. I wouldn't, like, I just had a Toyota Tacoma TRD Pro a couple weeks ago as a tester, and I mean, that thing, deer hunting on the highway and all that, this is just a much better experience, frankly. So I guess summing things up with our first drive in the AT4 Canyon, I think this looks great on the outside. I think suspension comfort's great, seat comfort's really good. It comes with a ton of features. Engine's amazing, and I don't really like, and the price point is where, I mean, with the features and everything you're getting, it's right there. So I'd have to say, like, I'm super impressed. And like I said, I think this is going to send a lot of other truck makers back to the drawing board. But let me know what you think.